the UAE's #1 talk radio station.
Fantastic to have you with us, and we are talking female hair loss on the show today. We've just been in conversation with Nita, who's had, in her words, a complete turnaround in how she feels around that hair loss. If you are struggling, if you are suffering, you're in the right place. We have got the doctor in the hot seat. Dr. Michael Ryan is with us. He is a world-renowned trichologist, hair loss specialist, decades of experience in treating scalp and hair loss disorders. He specialises in female hair loss and is now at a clinic called Wellth in Jumeirah 2, which sounds fantastic. I want to get to, please excuse the pun, the root of all of this. I'm sure you hear that all the time. Just because we've been talking about Nita's experience, and as I alluded to earlier, we talk a lot about male hair loss, a lot of women struggling, suffering in silence. And I wondered if the reasons for hair loss in men and women are different in your experience in terms of what's coming into clinic. What do we know? Yeah,
the differences are massive, really. So not to put it in too small a pigeonhole, but most men, not all, have genetic hair loss, so inherited through the genes. It displays itself, recession of the temples, and they get a bald spot, so on. But not all men, but the majority of men we see do have this. And
it would follow that pattern.
And it follows the pattern, and it doesn't necessarily, because your dad wasn't bald, doesn't mean to you won't be. It skips generations, so we don't fully understand the line, but we know it's inherited. Some men, on the other hand, do have complications like low iron or low testosterone, or, they have some inflammation. But the majority are genetic, and there are things we can do as a prevention rather than a cure for that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Whereas with females, it's a whole different ballgame. And the biggest problem in Dubai, and the biggest problem in the world, really, I would say, with female hair loss is that it is constantly misdiagnosed as genetic hair loss. And it drives me insane. The danger with that misdiagnosis means that you're not going to be looking for that initial cause. And that could be all manner of things, I'm guessing. What else could it be an indication of? It can be thyroid, it can be inflammation, it can be stress, it can be low iron, nutrients, all sorts. There's lots of things. And it's usually a combination of one or two rather than just saying, I've got stress. Yeah, it's low iron, have an infusion, and everything's going to be golden. It's an accumulative thing for females. I'd like to get an understanding of when hair loss tips into the problematic, because how many hairs, for example, would a typical person be losing every day? Well, the average is somewhere between 90 and 120 a day, but not many people actually sit and count them. I do have clients that come and count them. They bring boxes in. But generally, when you shampoo your hair and you're looking in the bottom of the shower, you subconsciously know that amount is about right for you. Mm-hmm. Once it sort of tippy-toes over that amount, you sort of register it and don't do much about it. But if that continues to the point where you start to think, I'm losing too much hair, then that is the time to certainly monitor it for the next week or 2 weeks. And if that continues, go and see somebody. Don't go and see a GP. Don't go and see a dentist. Go and see somebody that specialises in hair. He's here, Dr. Michael Ryan. So this is your chance to pick the brains. We've just had a message. Can you please share the speaker's name and details? Dr. Michael Ryan speaking to us from Wellth. That's Wellth in Jumeirah 2. World-renowned trichologist. Let's go to the text line. Jordan's saying, does lack of sleep affect hair loss? I've heard that. Absolutely. Sleep is important for all bodily functions. We are talking sleep after 3 o'clock today, so I'll ask our sleep researcher. For sure, and one of the big things is when people come in, we do a full medical history, and the questions we ask are, your diet, and do you sleep? And quite often, especially with women or females, it's like, I get 3 or 4 hours. Geez. How can you function? How can you expect your body to function as well? Your hair is metabolically, it is very expensive. It is really expensive. It's the second fastest growing thing in your body. So it demands a lot of metabolic energy. Mm-hmm. So if you're not recovering and repairing and renewing the system, what do you expect? It's going to suffer. And you would get this question from Kieran saying, a lot of people in the UA use filters on their showers. Does that make a difference to hair quality or hair loss? It makes a huge difference to hair quality. So the hair, once it's out and it's the stuff you can see, It's a fibre. It's dead. It is not alive. So the water here, although it's not bad for desalinated water, it does have a drying effect, and of course the weather, the sunshine and the sand in the air. So the hair can become a little bit dehydrated and dry. Shower filters will help the condition. They will not help with hair loss.
Okay.
And the water does not cause hair loss.
Thank you. I think it's an interesting, because a lot of people go, I moved to Dubai, my hair started falling out. And you go, you moved to Dubai, you moved countries, you probably changed jobs. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, you've changed jobs, you've changed diets, you've changed lifestyle, you're driving down Shakeside Road is stressful. So things happen.
How often should we be washing our hair? Asked Lena.
How often do you wash your face?
Every day.
Yeah, well, that's how often you should wash your hair.
Really?
Absolutely.
Who's got the time?
Everybody.
No.
30 seconds in the shower.
I'm there like a beautiful mind being like, if I do a spin workout on Monday and I'm playing paddle on Tuesday, if I can get away with washing my hair, it's like an ongoing maths algorithm that I'm trying to work out.
If you're in the shower, takes 2 minutes to shampoo
I can wash
it.
It's the drying, Michael. That's the pain. Well, here's the question. Drying. What do you recommend to keep your hair in tip-top quality? And is there any truth in how good these Dysons are?
No, they're just, they dry hair.
They're very nice to look at.
They're lovely and they sound nice and they look nice and they dry it. But, yeah, they're just hair dryers.
Question about prevention, because that's a big
Key.
priority for you as trichologists, but also at the clinic as well. Is there anything we could be incorporating into our diet, supplementation, that can be very beneficial? Because we see an awful lot of, chuck in this, collagen powder, take this supplement. What does the science say? Well,
there's no one magic potion, and you look on TikTok now and Instagram and everybody's advocating ashwagandha and all these ancient remedies. I would say if you think your diet is not the best, and in Dubai it can be difficult, and your lifestyle is maybe busy and active, then it's probably worth going to see somebody like a functional medicine person to get the inside sorted first, and rather than just going to the pharmacy and plucking a supplement off the shelf because your friend uses it.
Or a TikToker recommended.
Or a TikToker's told you. Yeah, they get an evaluation, get a diagnosis, and then have a plan.
I want to go to this. This is from Tarek saying, my wife gave birth 4 months ago. She's been losing hair ever since. It's a serious amount of hair. Is there anything that can be done in her lifestyle to help? Let's talk about pre- and post-birth hair and hair loss, because I think every woman's had some experience of it.
Yeah, postpartum hair loss is very common.
Why is that?
It's all about hormone levels. So while the baby's in vitro, it's growing and the hormones are raging and full. And as soon as the baby's born, the hormone levels drop. So when the hormone levels drop, usually 2 to 3 months after, you see this massive shedding of hair.
And it's alarming.
It's quite normal. It is frightening sometimes. It can sometimes get stuck in that situation if the mother is not sleeping, not eating, and she's maybe a bit stressed because of the baby and maybe got other children as well. But generally, it will reverse.
Anything you'd recommend for Tarek and his wife to help her get back on track, or just manage it until it goes
Don't worry
through?
about it is the main thing. Don't give any stress about it. It will sort of get back on its own time. But if it gets a little bit stuck and you're thinking it's taking too long, then see somebody and maybe some supplement or some nutritional advice. But sleep, for sure.
Go on, Tarek, that's your cue. Step in there. A message saying, how about oiling hair and how often? And we had another message actually from Payal saying, as Indians, we use a lot of oils on our hair from the moment we are babies. Does this help with hair growth, or is it just conditioning?
Yeah, the Indian thing is very big here because we also have a very large Indian community, and I have a lot of Indian clients, and they all oil their hair, and I would never tell them not to. From a conditioning point of view, it's not really the best. It's not great. On black hair, it looks amazing when you just oiled it. It looks really shiny. The problem with oil is it sticks to the surface. It will attract dust and, dead skin particles, so it soon looks dull. And also it can smell after a very short time. So it's not really great for conditioning, and it certainly has no benefit in hair growth or stopping hair falling. But I would never tell the Indian culture to stop using it.
Dr. Michael, I wanted to ask you a question. No name, and as we say, it's always absolutely fine to be anonymous, saying, is balding in women reversible? I'm mid-30s. Let's talk about, obviously there's going to be, it depends on the reason for the balding, presumably, but also some of the methods that you're using in clinic.
Yeah, if somebody's mid-30s, it's highly unlikely that it's a genetic hair loss, so balding as such. So she may be thinning for, as I said, lots of different reasons. So the key thing is to find out the reason, get the correct diagnosis, and then those things are always reversible, or 99% of the time they're reversible. Treatments are things like PRP, growth factors, stem cells, microneedling. All those kind of treatments are really, really good, but the key is you must have the correct diagnosis first. Otherwise, they don't do a lot and they cost a lot of money. And when they don't work, you become more stressed and it becomes a vicious cycle. And,
Follow-up question saying, is there a functional medicine doctor you recommend? You've got one at the clinic.
Well, yeah, we've got 2 or 3 at the clinic, and they're all highly specialised and brilliant, really. And they're in a world that I completely don't understand.
But that's why it's great, because you can work together.
The synergy is great because we pass from one to another and we all combine the different skills and knowledge within the Wellth. So it's really great.
For anyone listening today who feels a bit baffled when they go into their pharmacy, their supermarket, buy the rows of shampoos and conditioners and treatments and masks and can you give us a quick, and not necessarily gold standard, but in an ideal world, what should we be putting on our hair, not putting on our hair, and treating our hair to keep it in good quality, and also eventually, kind of prevent anything that we're talking about today?
So singly, the best thing you can do for your hair is shampoo it every day. If not every day, every other day at the very least.
Okay, I'll make that promise.
Buy a good quality shampoo. You don't have to buy, a 2,000 dirham bottle of shampoo with all gold bells and whistles. Just a good quality, probably a professional shampoo is good, recommended by your hairdresser. Don't buy something cheap and nasty. Good conditioner, that's it. If you want a top tip, when you look at the back of a bottle of shampoo, look how far down on the list of ingredients the sodium chloride is. The closer to the top, the cheaper the shampoo. So,
the one to watch.
Top tip.
Last question. Maybe it depends. I might ditch a song for you. Hair itching, scalp peeling. Any insights there? So you do help with scalp disorders as well, Doctor?
Yeah. So if it's itching, it could be bacterial, it could be fungal, it could be the fact that they're not cleansing the scalp often enough. We have things that live on the scalp, that live on our body. We need them to live. So the microflora. The scalp is enriched with sebaceous glands. So every hair follicle has at the side of it an oil gland, which produces oil roughly every 6 to 8 hours. They're like little oil wells going off independently. That oil is great food for these little things that live on us. And the oil traps the skin onto the scalp, so it's a nice breeding ground for the microflora and any bacteria. So they multiply if the scalp is not clean. So you become a little bit itchy, and then the itching can lead to, you dig with your nails and
infections,
and you get a secondary infection. So keeping it clean is really a good thing.
And as you said before, getting the correct diagnosis.
Yeah,
Don't
and
just
if
be
they do have
whacking on any.
If they do have something like a dandruff or a seborrheic dermatitis, which is what dandruff is. Then the correct sort of specific shampoo and the specific treatments depending on the level of the problem.
We've run out of time. I haven't run out of questions. We'd love to have you back, Michael. What's the best way of getting in touch with you and anyone looking to seek out a diagnosis or further advice?
They can contact the Wellth, or they can contact me on Instagram at Dubai Hair Doctor, and I'll happy to answer any questions anytime.
You're an absolute star. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
I'd love a further chat, and thank you again for all of your insights. Dr. Michael Ryan, if you want to send me a message just saying hair, I will very happily send you his details. And thank you again to Nita and Janine for shining a light on a very important topic and one that is not discussed enough.